Hey, happy Wednesday. Thanks for joining us on your Hail Trace noon forecast. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and here's your headlines for today. We have a tornado threat along the Gulf shores. Okay, so we're talking about not necessarily Gulf shores, but we're talking about those Gulf states, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, southern side. There's your tornado threat. Okay, it's a level 2, upgraded from yesterday, level 2 now. This has been something that I've seen all over social media. Is another hurricane in the cards? Are we going to see what would be Hurricane Sarah? Okay, it is too soon to tell. However, we have a 90% chance for cyclone formation. I will show you exactly where and what to expect as we head into the weekend. All of that coming up in just a few minutes. We've also got big changes coming, mainly for the plains, but for a good portion of the U.S. Fall is here. You're going to feel it. So we'll talk about that as well. Put your questions and your comments in the comments section. I'll be able to see them right down here. Let's get to yesterday's storm reports. Pretty quiet day yesterday. The storms down in Oklahoma underperformed, okay? Not terribly impressive in Oklahoma. Got a little bit of rain out of this, mainly in the northern side of the state, and just along the eastern side of the plains here, we also got some rain. Temperatures above average once again down to the south into Texas, portions of Oklahoma, and up to the northern plains here into the Dakotas. We have a front coming through, so you've got that warmer air out in front of the front and then the cooler air trying to push in behind. This isn't the big change that we're talking about. Okay, what we're really watching for is next week. We've got a front coming in next week that's really going to cool us down. But what are we looking at for now? Okay, we've got some showers and storms down in the Gulf. We've also got some showers and storms farther up to the north in the northern Mississippi Valley here. We're pretty dry off to the north and east, and then we are pretty dry out in Florida, which I feel like barely happens whenever we do these forecasts. We've usually got some sort of wet weather out in Florida. Out to the north and west, this is that atmospheric river that I was talking about yesterday, really bringing in all of that moisture, giving us showers, storms, and snow up in the higher elevations. That's even going into portions of northern California, but pretty dry across the Four Corners. Cooler across the Four Corners as well. They need that. They hit some record-breaking numbers out in Arizona back in August, September, and October. So it's nice to see a little bit of a cool down there. All right, taking a look at your future radar. We're going to start out to the west. We're going to work our way to the east and then down to the south. I saw a question on there at the bottom of your screen. You probably saw it pop up as well about Sarah. Now, it is not a named storm. It is not named Sarah yet, but I'll show you exactly what we're expecting and where that could potentially go. Okay, some models have it coming a little bit closer to the U.S., and I'll show you exactly what we're talking about here in just a few minutes. All right, there's your showers, your storms a little bit right off the coast. You get some high wind out here, but you could also get some snow up in the higher elevations. But the big story today, that big severe risk, is going to be farther down to the south. Okay, so we're talking Louisiana, Mississippi, and even portions of Alabama. What are we talking about here? Are we going to get any hail from this? Most likely not. No. We are down into some warmer, very, very moist areas. It's very, very hard to get hail in these areas. So what we're watching for here is now we've got showers and storms going on right now as we speak. Now through the evening and potentially even overnight hours, we're watching for that tornado risk, that high wind risk, and the flooding risk as well. So that hail risk is going to be very, very low. So let's jump into that tornado forecast here. I did mention earlier that it's a level 2, highlighted in yellow. That includes the northern portion of New Orleans and goes even off to the eastern side of Mississippi, not including Alabama. However, Mobile, Alabama in that level 1 risk for tornado potential. Jackson, level 1 as well. And then the very, very, very far southern side of Louisiana, also in a level 1 risk. What about the wind forecast? We're going to see some high winds out of this. I think right around 70 miles an hour. Could we get a little bit gustier? 75 miles an hour, it's possible. However, I think that we are going to stay closer to that 65 to 70 mile per hour range, mainly farther down to the south. It's going to become a little bit more sparse as we go up to the north into places like Jackson. So we talked about the tornado risk. We talked about the wind risk, very, very low hail risk. What's our last risk to talk about? Flooding, okay? Level 2, medium risk for tornadoes. medium risk for high winds, medium risk for flooding, okay? There's that level 2 risk for flooding down into Louisiana and Mississippi. Level 2 is oftentimes ponding on roadways, okay? So it's going to be those underpasses, it's going to be those on-ramps, it's going to be those places in your neighborhood that always seem to flood. It's going to be muddy at the dog park for a good portion of the eastern states here, especially down into the Gulf Coast. Usually, this does not mean anything terribly significant on travel, except for it slows you down on the roadways. But I really want you to watch that area highlighted in yellow. That'll be your area for the most likely area to flood. All the way up to green into Tennessee and Kentucky, you're going to get some really good rainfalls in this area, soaking the ground, right? Okay, taking a look at the future radar tomorrow. What is your severe risk for tomorrow? We are low to no is what I like to say. No to low severe risk for tomorrow. It's looking pretty quiet across the U.S. tomorrow. A few showers and storms out there, but for the most part, not expecting anything severe. All right, here we go. This is what everyone watches for, or has been watching for on social media. We got a question about this earlier. Right now, this is not a named storm, okay? Not a named storm. If it does strengthen, organize, it is organizing itself, a little bit more impressive now. If it does strengthen, what we're watching for here is Sarah. Sarah without an H, S-A-R-A. We have a 90% chance over the next 2 days to see this become a tropical depression. Then what? What's going to happen after that? Where is this going? Our spaghetti models have this hanging out in the Caribbean, mainly the Western Caribbean and Northwestern Caribbean, through the weekend. Okay, so now through the weekend, this is not a threat to the U.S. However, I want you to tune back in at the end of the weekend, if not at the very beginning, and then into next week. Watch how much this system really wants to go to the north as we get Sunday into Monday. We see that turn up to the north, and this is where we're watching the potential impacts to the U.S. Now, my models don't go past Tuesday. This is where we stop with my models. However, I'll give you a little sneak peek into what we're watching for next week. Remember that cool down that I told you about earlier? Remember how we're looking for some cooler air up into Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and even the Dakotas? That front is going to help to push this storm off to the east. So what we're watching for here is not only that northern progression of this storm, but also the potential eastern turn as well. Florida is something that we're really, really watching for. The west side of Florida is what we're watching for to be impacted by this storm. Again, it's too early to tell if this is going to be a tropical storm or a hurricane, or maybe it's just going to kind of dissipate in the Gulf. It is too early to tell that. However, this is your major heads up to keep an eye out for the western side of Florida, because we have kind of all the right ingredients at the same time. Here's what I'm watching for, and this is why we're thinking, you know, will this be a strong storm? Will this be a tropical storm? Will this be a hurricane? Look at the shear. High sheared environments are not good for hurricane development, okay? This is a hurricane squasher right here. All of this blue is not good for hurricane development. Your water temperature is not terribly impressive, still on the warmer side here. That's really good for hurricane development. Okay, so we've got some ingredients that say this is something to watch. We've got other ingredients that aren't too impressive. But of course, you know us, we'll keep you informed either way. We'll give you all the information here. I did want to note that we are still technically in hurricane season, even though we're kind of at the very end of it here. We're still technically in hurricane season. All right, let's move on. I talked about those cooler temperatures. I talked about that big winter wash that we're going to get into next week, just before Thanksgiving week. And Thanksgiving falls a little bit later this year. It's at the very end of November instead of that second to last week. Temperatures are going to be cooling down slowly, not too impressively, over the next 5 days. But you get to that day 7, okay, we're talking about 1 week from now, November 20th, we start to really see some impressive changes. Cold temperatures out in Oklahoma and Texas, even colder temperatures in this area, highlighted in blue. It doesn't look like it's going to do it. Okay, I'll tell you exactly. Colder temperatures in like the panhandle of Texas all the way down into the central west side and into the western side of Oklahoma is your best area for those very cold winter-like temperatures. You head farther up to the north, we're talking about Kansas, Nebraska, and even portion of the Dakotas. We're going to see some high wind speeds up here, so very, very gusty days. Cool temperatures, gusty days, you're probably going to have a pretty significant wind chill through this area, highlighted in yellow. Go a little bit farther to the west, we're talking Colorado, up to Wyoming, and into South Dakota now. This is where you could have heavy snow. Now, I'm not saying this entire area. I'm saying that there are going to be portions of this that are going to have a high likelihood of heavy snow. Now, you may be seeing where I'm going with this here. Heavy snow, high winds, cooler temperatures, low visibility, okay? So I do want you to, if you have any travel plans the week before Thanksgiving, we're talking the 20th through the 26th here, we could have some travel issues in there. Not everyone, some people could have some travel issues right in this area from Kansas, Nebraska, and into South Dakota. And that's your update. Okay, we talked about a ton of things here. We've got that tornado and high wind risk today. We are watching the tropics for that next cyclone development, and then of course a big cool down in 1 week from now. In the meantime, before our next forecast tomorrow, we'll keep you updated, but follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Give us a call at 855-334-4245 if you're interested in a hail, wind, or tornado map. Email us, I get it. Sometimes we don't want to talk on the phone. Email us at info@hailtrace.com or head over to our website. We've got a great weather blog at hailtrace.com as well. If you're a weather enthusiast like we are here at Hailtrace, you're going to love that website. That blog is going to be great. All right, thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. We'll see you back here, same time, same place, for your forecast tomorrow.